Welcome to The Read Along,
a mini book club for your ears.
I'm your host, Scott.
I'm your other host, Anita.
And join us on a journey through a good book,
one chapter at a time.
Do you like talking about movies? Do you like talking about mediocre movies? Do you like talking about how you could have fixed mediocre movies? Well, I certainly do, and you can listen to me, Scott C. Bourgeois, along with my co-hosts Greg Beaver and Liam Creswick, as we give our notes, and I have some notes. You can follow it now on your podcatcher of choice, or support it by visiting patreon.com/IHaveSomeNotes. A little more house repairs going on.
Yes, there is loud thumping outside.
Yeah, so we can't really put off the recording, but if you hear any thumping or banging or anything, that's just workmen working. Yeah, got some contractors shoring up a couple little fissures in the old foundation.
Fissures. You make it sound like there's an alternate dimension outside trying to leak in.
Kind of is, in a way. That's where the ants came from.
Ants are not otherworldly.
They don't belong in this world.
They don't belong in this basement. There's a difference.
Inside my basement, exactly. So just the last of the kind of big repairs that needed done on the new house before we can...
For the season, anyway.
Yeah, before we can kind of settle in fully. But yeah, the big stuff is out of the way, and now it's just kind of little stuff that we can work on over the next few years. It's not as pressing.
Yeah.
So
that is crucial to, like, the foundation of our home.
Indeed. So we didn't want to put off recording, but there are some workmen out there. So again, if you hear some thumps or bangs, that's just men at work.
So everything's fine. Carry on.
But I guess we'll just kind of dive into it so that we don't have to worry about lots of banging and such while we're recording.
Slightly easier to edit that way, I think.
Yeah, we'll dive into a brief recap of our previous chapter, which was chapter 31, in which Mallory finds Cornelia in the empathy cage.
They have their little heart-to-heart. It's very nice.
They have a moment to kind of touch base, get caught up, and
make it sound like they're having tea in there.
Prepare for possible death as the Whistler shows up to greet Mallory as we move into chapter 32 of The Undetectables by Courtney Smyth. Before we fully dive into this chapter, there was something we actually forgot to talk about from last chapter.
Which is?
Which I thought we might want to touch base on really quick. Cornelia explains how she got caught, and it turns out she done broke the rules.
Oh, that. Yes, yes.
Because we were curious how she managed to get nabbed, and it turns out, yeah, she totally flagrantly decided to go against the rules they had just set for themselves.
Yeah, the agreement that they all had to not leave the house.
Not an hour earlier, and was like, well, Diana's asleep and Mallory's asleep, and I'm just going to go out by myself to the cemetery where the vampires hang out.
I'll just pop out. It'll be fine. I'll be right back.
Yeah, to pay my respects to Beckett, because what are the chances that the killer would be lurking at one of the scenes of his crime? And it turns out
100%.
He 100% was,
Hundo-posing.
and took her into custody.
This is the nicest way of saying that he kidnapped her.
Yeah. So that is how that happened.
But it does mean that Mallory was right earlier when she was like, okay, Cornelia probably went to the cemetery.
Which does kind of underscore how well Mallory knows Cornelia.
Yeah, exactly.
It also explains why she was able to grab her coat, which they also noted was missing.
But once again, Cornelia goes out and does something without thinking.
Yep. Because consequences happen to other people.
Yep.
Which is unfortunately, and to her own chagrin in many cases, been the story of her life. Consequences happen to other people.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, consequences might be catching up, because she and Mallory are now both in the custody of Jacob, the Whistler.
Kind of inevitable, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. Our countdown to Samhain is at 2 hours and 13 minutes.
Yep.
Which means those two girls spent almost 45 minutes having their heart-to-heart, which is actually kind of sweet.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, Our big reveal. Jacob, at last.
Is indeed the Whistler.
You may now pronounce yourself correct.
I am correct. Now, obviously, just because we know who done it doesn't necessarily mean we know why or how.
I still don't entirely know why.
He's kind of intimated that he is using mystical death blades. His motivation is a bit wonky.
Well, I'm incomplete.
Yeah, we don't have the full picture, but we've got some broad brushstrokes, and he's describing what he's doing as a kind of art.
Yeah, he falls into that, for lack of a better term, he falls into that villain trope. He's assuming he's won, and so he starts monologuing.
Kinda. He actually stops himself from doing it earlier on, where he's like, look, we don't have the time for this, but he can't help himself.
Yeah, but this is his chance to gloat.
Well, it's
right?
not even... It doesn't even come across as gloating
No,
so much as
it's
it
not.
comes across as him. It's like how you're excited to share your hobby and your passion with somebody who gets it. Like,
Yeah, except they don't.
No.
That's just it. That's why it's kind of like gloating, because he's like, okay, I've got you. We've come this far. We did the things. Hooray, everybody.
in fact, if anything, he seems disappointed it took Mallory so long to figure it out. Because he's like, when did you get it? And she was like, it was Van Doren upstairs. And he's like, oh.
That's way too late.
Come on, I was dropping so many hints.
And he was.
Well, yeah, we were picking them up. Mallory even chides herself kind of internally about this, because she's like, I should have caught this sooner if I had been less blinkered in my perception about this. Because she was seeing the same clues we were.
Yeah.
But she was so colored by Cornelia's strong opinions about Van Doren and their suspicion of Van Doren and the weird things that were going on with Van Doren, that she allowed that to completely color the way she was seeing that evidence.
Mm-hmm.
She was pointing it at the wrong person because it kind of fit enough.
Yeah. Well, and they had disregarded Jacob early on because they knew this needed to be a magical crime.
He had told them
Yeah.
that he couldn't have done it.
Exactly.
And they just took it at face value.
And they were like, yeah, obviously. Meh, and never bothered to revisit that.
Yeah, and the fact is, when it came to motivations, even they were kind of squinting to make a motivation fit on Van Doren.
Right?
Because they were like, this doesn't seem like his jam, but it must be him.
Well, and we talked about that chapters ago.
Yeah.
I'm sure, right?
And she legitimately feels like she's let everyone down because she wasn't being fully objective in following the clues. But the fact is, it's hard to do.
Oh, yeah.
No one is totally objective in this life. Your perception of the world is shaped by your thoughts and your opinions and your feelings. And there's no fully objective detective. No one is Sherlock Holmes.
Even Sherlock Holmes isn't Sherlock Holmes.
Exactly. Mallory kind of is having that realization here a bit too late.
Yeah, sadly. So anyway, he's got them in this cage. He is
Yeah.
laying out his grand scheme.
Yeah, the way
Kind
that
of.
he's... Because we had kind of supposed that maybe this was a vigilante thing. Maybe this was a justice for ills done in the magical community sort of thing. But Jacob's really spelling it out as, no, he's an artiste and he's making a grand work of art to the Turnian.
Yes? Like, he lays that all out. He never lays out why, though.
No.
Like, he doesn't lay out what's in it for him. What does he get out of this? What does he want?
Fame, eternal glory, hard to say.
I don't know, because he doesn't explain that part.
No, he doesn't have a chance to.
No. Well, okay. Mallory, at least in this moment, is smart enough to keep him talking.
Yes, because it keeps them alive longer.
Yeah.
And number two, because he's on a clock. And if they can keep him talking, they might make him accidentally run out the clock.
Maybe. I don't know. We're not in Cornelia's head. I don't know if she's into it as well or if she's just upset.
She's definitely upset and indignant.
Hurling upset things at him.
I think that's one of the reasons why he keeps directing most of the conversation to Mallory, because she's being the reasonable one.
It's reasonable. Yeah, quote unquote. But she's smart enough to keep him talking. It's not in her head, but I think we know Mallory enough to know. So, first of all, on the meta level, it's giving us readers some villain exposition.
Yeah.
Right? Which we like.
I
like.
That is the Doylist reason
exactly.
why she keeps him talking in this moment. But the Watsonian reason is she's buying time.
Yes, she's buying time, and she is distracting him.
Mhm.
So he is not paying attention to the Diana in the room
Well-
who is here to save the day.
But that's later. But she keeps him distracted from Diana coming into the room because he unlocked the door and came in.
Yeah, because he has the key.
Because he has the key, and he doesn't expect that anyone else is joining them because Diana is tied up with the mantis.
She is busy.
She has, and I quote, hurt his mantis very badly.
Which probably just tickles Diana pink.
But yeah, in the end, he's even like, oh, I'm delighted to have you guys here, and I knew Cornelia was going to be the one who was the dangerous one. Just look at her. She's so angry she could just leap at me. And Diana's like, excuse me, I'm the dangerous one. And clocks him in the head with a pipe.
With a pipe. It's like, yes, Diana. I was very satisfied by that. It was
Indeed.
great. So I want to talk about Jacob for just a minute.
Okay.
Since basically that's the whole chapter. Diana drops in, wangs him in the head with a pipe, chapter over. This isn't the first time I've encountered in a murder mystery a murderer who is the death artist, right? Who feels
it's kind of a trope, yeah.
Who feels they are creating art. He's got the familiar trait of the villain who wants to be caught. Like, he talks about it. Like, he brings that right to the foreground.
It's a weird kind of yes but no situation. He wants to be caught in the sense that he wants Mallory and the Undetectables to appreciate what he's doing and to hang it on him, but he doesn't want to be stopped necessarily.
Yeah.
Because his work is not done.
Well, there's a difference between caught and stopped.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just, I hate to say it falls into the trope, but it does so perfectly.
Well, the tropes aren't bad.
No, but it falls into it in such a way that it's well done, right? Like, I appreciate the death artist because there's sort of a beautiful madness to them that makes them unpredictable. It makes them a good villain. For me, anyway.
Well, and I mean, he even talks a little bit about that when they're like, we saw you at the funeral and at the morgue and you seemed really upset. And he's like, yeah, lots of artists don't like to look at their own work. Makes total sense.
Yeah.
I'm very self-conscious about the stuff that I do. He also talks about like his choice of victims a little bit. Custer was just like an early test run to see if it would work.
Yeah.
He drew in the Undetectables because he wanted some smart people who could appreciate what he was doing.
Theodore would not stop talking about his brilliant friend Mallory.
And Van Doren's former assistant still had their business card from that Samhain party all the years ago.
Yep.
And then, like, he started targeting people around them. And admittedly, he didn't get the right member of the band, but any member was better than no member.
Yeah, he went with what he was given.
And Theodore was unfortunate, but again, he couldn't stop talking, so he needed to be taken out of the picture.
That is a whole separate something when they bring up Theodore.
Because they're like, Theodore really liked you. And he's like, and that's a shame. But
and I would have liked him back, except obviously killing people was more important.
Well, and also he wouldn't have been able to keep his mouth shut. Because of course I would have told him about all of the incredible things I was doing, and then he would have blabbed it all to you. So couldn't let that happen.
He doesn't deserve someone like Theodore.
But yes, he also makes it very clear that with them there, this is it. They're the last parts of the ritual. And he's very sad that it has to be that way because obviously they're two of the only people who can really appreciate what he's doing. But in a way, that almost makes it more perfect that they get to be part of it.
It's so dark.
Yeah.
I like it. There's one other thing I want to touch on, a little bit of speculation on my part. When he goes on about the actual text involving the Turnian, and he's talking about, oh, so you found out about the mistranslation, about how it's, 7 cuts with the same death blade and this. And
Cornelia's like, of course, yes.
Obviously.
Definitely.
Yes. Yes. Because he is talking about a mistranslation that he found, I wonder if he's not wrong.
It could be. I mean, they even posit that, where they're like, what's your end game here? Like, you summon the tourney and you think they're going to be happy to be here?
Well, and again, he said it's a mistranslation. It's supposed to be like this. Well, how do we know his translation is correct? Like, maybe, this makes me very sad, maybe he has killed all of these people for nothing.
Well, or it's just as like, and again, I feel like this is a tribute. This is how they ascended to godhood. And he's doing this as a tribute to them. That's kind of my read on him at the moment. Because again, he doesn't get as far as explaining what his end game is.
No, not yet, anyway.
But if we are going with the death artiste, my feeling is that he's doing this as a way to honor them in a sick, twisted, roundabout way.
Maybe that makes just as much sense as anything else.
Yeah.
Especially the mad artist angle, right?
Indeed.
That's motivation enough when you're a little loopy.
Quite so. Well, who knows? Maybe we'll find out a little more about what his motivation is when he comes to, perhaps as soon as next chapter.
Maybe.
You're going to want to read up on chapter 33 in time for next week. And of course, in the meantime, as always, you can give us a little rating and a review because that helps us out.
And we appreciate it.
We do. We also appreciate chatting with you online.
Absolutely. You can reach us via various social medias. We are on Instagram, Facebook, X, Goodreads, and Blue Sky. We are at The Read Along in almost all of those.
Yeah. You can also send us an email.
Oh, we would love an email. Those are great, too. You can reach us at thereadalong@gmail.com.
Something that I haven't mentioned in a little bit, but I'm just going to throw in right now, is that if you are interested in our full back catalog, not all of it made the jump over to Podbean when we switched to them for our distribution.
Sorry.
So there are older episodes and older books that aren't available there, but everything is available right now for free on the Internet Archive right from our first episode. So if you want to go back and listen to like some of our earliest books, get some deep cuts back when the show still had a lot more like weird, bizarre stuff going on because we hadn't figured it all out.
Playing with a little more, yeah.
Yeah, you can check those out right now, once again, for free on the Internet Archive. Just look up The Read Along. Yeah. And with that said, as always, we love you very much, and we'll see you next time.
Countdown to Samhain continues.
Thank you for joining us on The Read Along with your hosts, Anita and Scott Bourgeois. All Read Along music is by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com. Cover art is by Aaron Beaver. Be sure to join us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at The Read Along, and check out our group on Goodreads.com.